Hey, this is Sadu. I've been McCoy. I've been Yasa Salam. And I'm speaking on how I got my name. My first video I spoke about how I got my name. As far as not wanting to disrespect my parents. I kind of went through a thing of having a lot of names, different names. I had different names, when I came into the spirituality that I'm into now, this path that I'm walking now. And I had many different names, but I didn't want to take away from the name that my parents, gave me at birth. Like I said in my first video, I really didn't like my first name, especially my first name. And I was always trying to find an alias or a replacement or something else to be called other than that name. And but ultimately, I didn't want to disrespect my parents. I mean, they did name me. I think that would be disrespectful just to totally change my name like that. So I came up with the concept of taking the first letter out of each one of my names. I have 3 names. I have a first name, middle name, and a last name. So I decided to take the letter out of each of those names. And plus I added my father's last name because I share my father's first name. So I put his last name to it, and what came out of that is Sadu. And Ibn means son or son of in Hebrew and Arabic. And Makir, is my father's name translated into Arabic. And Yasa is my grandfather's name translated into Arabic. And I really, I wanted to give respect, to my father, my grandfather, the men that brought me into my existence. And I was thinking about putting my grandmother, my mother's name, but then my name would be extremely long. So I kind of left them out of that for some reason. I don't know, but I did want to give respect to my father, my grandfather, the men that brought me about. So I had their names in there, and I also have, my name, but just the first letters of my name. And it came up to Sadu. And it was interesting because when I actually looked up the name, to my surprise, it did not come up as Arabic. It actually registered as a East Indian name, Hinduish name. And the meaning of the name Sadu actually comes from what they call a religious or a spiritual sect in India, of people who decided to abandon the materials of the world in search for spirituality, spiritual purity, spiritual enlightenment, and the abandonment of ignorance. It's almost a soul-searching religion or belief. And these people are actually called sadhus. And the women are called savi. And sadhu actually translate by definition to holy man or good man, or and I was reading up on it, on the belief, the spirituality, the practice, of the East Indian um, Hindus, and all I have to say is, God is good. God is good. When I settled with this name, I said, I didn't want to disrespect my parents, and I came up with this name, not to dishonor them, but to also give myself a name that, I don't know. I just wanted something to give me a feel of my spiritual path, and I wanted to a name. I wanted to name myself to reflect that, and to my surprise, this name that came about, and the definition of it was amazing. I was like, wow, good man, spiritual man. And when I looked up, the belief and the subtraction of worldly pleasures, and just disassociating yourself from the material world and being more focused on self knowledge, self identity, your self spirituality. And when I came into this belief that I'm into, in the beginning, I was following. I kind of stumbled on the Hebrew Israelite. Let me start before then. I had asked, I had prayed. I was going through some things, and I was feeling some type of way, and I was in my solitude, and I started to pray. And I asked my God to show me his path, to guide me to his path, and I will walk his path. And I was inspired by one of the Psalms of David, a few of the Psalms of David, but that one inspired me, one of the most, to recite that prayer. And I asked for the path of God to be shown to me, and I will walk it. And that was over 10 years ago. And ever since I asked for that revelation in my life, that's kind of the way I've been walking. Not even kinda, that's the way I've been walking. And I first stumbled on the Hebrew Israelite understanding. And I was heavily into that. And I kind of went in different directions within that belief system. And then I stumbled upon some, just a connection between the Hebrews and who we call, the Muslim religion itself, and certain things that was presented as separated to me. I started to see a connection, and I started to see a connection in Christianity, in Islam, in Judaism, and I was just guided to that path, and I started to see past the walls of separation. I started to see that there's something that is trying to separate humanity and cause humanity to be at odds with one another. There was just things that I saw that was a clear connection that I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have questioned themselves. And I've read the Quran, I've read the Gospels, I've read the Old Testament, and there is clear connections in all three. And I've seen a lot of my spiritual family argue amongst each other, be it Christian, be it Muslim, be it Hebrew, Israelite, or Jew. I just seen, I got into this belief, this religion, not only for myself in the growth of my spirituality and the understanding, but I wanted unity too with humanity, with my peers who are into the same understandings, in search for the same truth as I was, and I felt that I thought anyway that it would be more unity, more love, more compassion, more togetherness, and I started to realize that there was more division and strife and anxiety and aggravation in the spiritual circles than outside of the spiritual circle. I started to see a lot more of the finger pointing and the prejudging people based on what belief they are in, or it just, or even if they was in the same belief, but if they had a different idea about it, or they called on a different, it was just so much negativity. And I started to find myself being a part of that negativity and enjoying, what they call trolling or debating for strife, to show that someone is wrong, or that their God is not real, or is a pagan belief, or it's an idolistic belief, or something like that. And I'm just like, this is not why I wanted to. This is not why I asked to be shown the path. I was going through issues already. Things were weighing heavy on my mind, on my heart, my spirit at that time, and I needed peace. I needed clarity. I needed peace. And over the years of studying and conversing with other conscious people or spiritual people or Israelites or Muslims or other Christians or whatever, and it just became a serious problem and negativity. And that's not what I got into it for. I really got into it for the peace and love and companionship. And definitely when I start seeing that there was no division between the three, it was just a division of ideas. It was presented to us in a separate way, but it's really not separate. But trying to show, the beauty of unity within the three major religions, the beauty, of unity within all the prophets, be it Moses, Abraham, Jesus, Muhammad, showing the good in all of that, showing the connection between all three books. It was very hard to get that point across to people. And I started to, look at religion and those who controlled it and those who advanced in the profession of religion and the thievery. There's an article about a Hebrew Israelite who, created a little temple for himself and everything, and then he got arrested. Him and some of his partners got arrested for stealing over $5-6 million, embezzling, taking, the money that, this nonprofit money that was being donated, and they was just spending it on themselves and not the community, not the people, not trying to make things better. That broke my heart. I was a part of a synagogue, and it just, things just, I just didn't agree with the spiritual people that I was, running up against, or that I was, being guided to. And, the religion itself, I started to question religion. I started to question everything. And I said, I don't want to be, religion is not what I'm into. It's not what I'm in this for. I asked for the path, the righteous path. And that path is away from religion. It's more on the spiritual level. And that's kind of where I went. I kind of went to the more spiritual aspect of understanding the higher power, understanding the great creator, the great energy. And I'm going more on a spiritual path, so I'm not confined to one idea of belief. I can receive truth through many things. I can receive righteousness and understanding through many understandings that I am guided to. There's a lesson in everything. There's a teaching in everything. Life is learning. Life is experiencing and taking that experience and analyzing it and learning from it and growing from that experience. And it was just funny that this is how I was feeling, and then the name that, I literally made up myself, because, like I said, I didn't want to dishonor my parents and take away from the name that they named me, and I always wanted to symbolize that, but yet I wanted a name that was more fitting to my spiritual path, the path, in which I want to walk, I want to, live. And Sadhu was perfect. It was perfect. The meaning of it and the belief system around it. The sadhus are people who have abandoned religion, abandoned the worldly things, just as, Jesus says in the New Testament. In order to be my disciple, you must give up all your worldly possessions. And this is what the sadhu have done, giving up their worldly possessions for spiritual possessions. Just more of a spiritual awareness about self. Because our worldly, the world and the materials of the world and the things that we hold important to us really isn't. And sometimes we idolize things for our own detriment. Because if we lose it, or we don't have it, or we can't acquire it, we might want this BMW, or we might want this type of lifestyle because maybe somebody else is living this type of lifestyle. Maybe we're looking at our lifestyle and then looking at someone else's lifestyle and saying, well, I got to do better. And that can be, a depression situation, definitely, if you never achieve that goal, if the obstacles, outweigh your chances of succeeding. to that point where you want to be, or you made it to that point. You gravitated to the idea of what you want your life to be, to the financial situation that makes you comfortable in life, and then all of a sudden you lose it. Something happens, tragedy happens, a situation happens, not of your fault or your fault. You wasn't thinking, just something just happened and you lost it. A lot of people are losing their jobs and just, becoming ill, and things happen. And it can devastate anyone when they lose something that they love, when they can't no longer live the lifestyle that they was accustomed to, when they feel like their ambitions have been blocked. And this caused great spiritual pain, and it causes depression, and it causes all type of negativities in your life. And a lot of it is because we live outside of our means, meaning like it's not good enough just to have a roof over your head, shelter, you have clothes on your back, and you eat every day, and you're pretty healthy. That's not enough. We need a flat screen TV. We need a cell phone. We need a tab. We need internet. We need a PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox, the Wii. We need Jordans. We need, we need this certain brand name of clothing. We just can't have clothing. We need a certain name, So not even a certain material, not even silk or something that feels good to the body. No, we need a name. We're not even worried about the material in which it's made out of anymore. It's just what name do you have on. So, and you have people who can't afford those things, people who can't acquire those things, and now they feel depressed about themselves. They feel less than. And then you have people that have those things and they feel better than a person who doesn't have it. So it's just a cycle, a bad cycle. It's a negative cycle. And me personally, I never been about none of that. I never been materialistic. I never really cared too much about name brand things or I care about what I look like. I never wanted to look like what they would call a bum or something like that, or look like I don't care about myself. I ain't gonna say a bum. Excuse me. That's not nice because I've been homeless. But I didn't want to look like I didn't care about myself. I'll put it that way. So, I maintain, a sense of myself in my dress. But was it all name brand? Was I, what they call fresh to death? No. And I never really cared about that. I never cared, how people view me because of that. I always I kind of stayed a meek individual, Even if I did have those clothing or designer, items, I never flaunted it because I knew there was people around me, my friends, who didn't have that. And I never wanted to outshine them or something like that. So I always kind of been like that anyway. And it's just, my whole life I haven't really been interested in a lot of things that everybody else has been interested in. I never really was into sports. So sitting around talking about the game or the players, that never was me. It's a lot of things I just wasn't into. I don't know why. I did like music, but I never played an instrument. I like hearing music. I like listening to music and actually, getting the meditative, getting into a meditative state, an imaginary state. Sometimes you listen to music, it brings you to another place, and that's always kind of been my outlet. For the most part, I've already separated myself from the world. I just was looking for unity with people. and that's very hard to come by. Righteous unity, you know, people loving their neighbors as they love themselves. You know, and it's a lot of negativity comes through people's lives, through family, friends, relationships. You know, can really put a bearing on you. And you do have to get to a point where you have to become spiritual. You have to find the goodness within yourself and harness that and hoarder that feeling within yourself, because sometimes the world is not going to make you happy. Sometimes people are not going to, give you enjoyment. Sometimes your life situation is not going to be comfortable. But at the end of it all, you have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to be spiritually enlightened within self. And that is the only way that you are going to keep a good mind, a clear mentality about things. And this was the understanding of a lot of the Buddhists, Buddha himself, a lot of the Hindu religions believe in this sort of trying to find the middle ground between negative and positive. Being content with self, no matter what you have, don't have, no matter the situation that you're in, you're content with yourself. And, and really, that's what all these religions are speaking on. Because truly, it's yourself that you have to be aware of. It's your actions and your accountability that Yah, Allah, Jehovah, Shiva, whoever, whatever God you believe in, whatever spirituality you're a part of, whatever religion you're a part of, at the end of the day, you are accountable for your actions and your thoughts and everything. You are accountable. And we can always point the finger at other people, but we have to answer for our doings. So we have to be, and this is why even in the Bible it says, be careful and maintain your steps. Watch your steps. Reading Proverbs and Psalms is almost gives you that Buddhist feel, that feel of, you have to be spiritually self-aware. You have to find the peace within yourself. Because within yourself, that's where God is. God is within us. And a lot of times we are looking for God in the church. We're looking for God in other people. We're looking for God within society, within our community, within our government. And we're not finding the God that we're looking for, the God of compassion, of love, of harmony. And that's when you have to realize that you have to turn your sights within yourself and look within yourself to find everything that is missing outside of yourself. So that's my path, and all praises, to the Most High, all glory to the most compassionate one, to the Creator of all, for guiding me to this name and then giving me the understanding of exactly what my path is. I am Sadhu. And this is the story of the meaning of my name. Salam. Peace.